Hi, I'm Andrew Moriarty, the Senior Pricing Analyst here at Mintec, and I'm going to give you a quick update on what we've been seeing in the cocoa market over the last couple of weeks and months, and it has been an interesting couple of weeks and months. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, the London market has moved up quite substantially over the last few months, from lows back in mid-July up to a high just a few weeks ago, and it's increased by about £200 per tonne over that period. Now, this has had kind of an interesting impact on the forward curve, as we've seen that forward curve move from backwardation in the early part of the year to a much more flat forward curve looking from September contracts and even December contracts out as well. Now, I think the real interesting thing that we've also seen is how that's impacting the semi-finished market. And I think that's where you get a sort of a different side of the industry, really, looking at the ratios. So if we're saying that the bean price has gone up £200 and now retraced ever so slightly, if you look at these butter and powder prices that we publish with our Mintec benchmark prices, those have shown a rather different trend. So butter has continued to increase along with the bean, and quite sharply, although not quite to the same extent as the ratio for butter has actually been decreasing for quite some time now. We recently published last week our Mintec benchmark price assessment at 2.53 for the butter ratio. And anecdotally, I've heard speaking to buyers in the market that they're being offered longer term deals with a baked-in ratio that's even lower than that. And so that butter price has gone up, but maybe not quite to the same extent as the bean has. Powder, on the other hand, has been working as an almost totally separate product. So for months now, the powder price has been extremely high, near 4-year highs. And the ratio actually did hit a 4-year high not long ago. It actually hit 1.2. And has since started to fall back down slightly, but remains very elevated. So we're seeing this continued strength in powder prices, and now it's strengthening, but not as much as you would expect in the butter market. It seems now with the ratios of butter, kind of leveling off slightly around the kind of 2.53 area, and with the outright price of powder starting to move down slightly as well, where we assess slightly down week on week, that we might see these two markets returning more to a kind of natural stasis, especially as countries start to move further and further out of lockdown, and we start to get back to the way that things normally are. Now, the other thing that I think is worth mentioning as well is, and I mentioned in a previous video, the upcoming elections for the president of the Côte d'Ivoire. And we do now have definitive proof that the current president, Ouattara, will be seeking re-election for a third term. Now, this doesn't seem to have impacted the cocoa market much yet, as Ivory Coast is a country that has plenty of experience with interesting political goings on. But nevertheless, as we get closer to that date, which is the 31st of October for the first round, it's worth keeping an eye out for any potential unrest or any potential uncertainty that might be reflected in the market. Otherwise, I think that's it for now. Feel free to get in touch at pricing@mintecglobal.com. Always happy to talk the markets. Thank you very much.